Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'm going to take a closer look at the disease process and what happens to us when we don't satisfy our needs. And when we don't satisfy our needs, there are two main things that happen to us. Number one, we end up with things inside of us that do not belong inside of us. And number two, we end up not having things inside of us that do belong inside of us. And most of our problems that are 100% within our control have to do with toxicities and deficiencies. And the reason why disease is a mystery for our so-called medical experts is they don't study the lymph system. You see, our body is nothing but a bunch of cells and two main fluids. We have somewhere between 60 to 100 trillion cells, and blood brings in the food, and everything that consumes eliminates, and that waste goes into the lymph system, which is like the sewage system of the body. So most of our problems come from the sewage system of our body. The reason why disease is a mystery to our so-called medical experts is they don't study the sewage system of the body. Think of the sewage system of our body being like a vacuum cleaner, and we go into a room and we vacuum up all the garbage. There's waste matter from the actual cells in our body that gets into our lymph system. There's dead cellular debris. Everything, remember, gets dumped into the sewage system of the body, like everything's getting sucked up in a room or in a house into a vacuum cleaner. Now imagine the bag on the vacuum cleaner is more like a balloon that can expand. It becomes less efficient, obviously, the more number of particulates get into the bag. Remember, everything's pressure. That's how the system's supposed to work. There's not supposed to be a whole bunch of garbage inside our sewage system, so the cells have a easy way for waste matter in their cell to go back out into this lymph system. But as our vacuum cleaner bag gets fuller, or that balloon gets fuller, the pressure inside gets greater, and eventually that balloon's going to pop, and all that dirt we collected goes back into the room and into the house. And you see, that's what's happening with our sewage system. Our sewage system is grabbing garbage from everywhere, all the cells, and when it goes above a toleration point, which is it's going to if our system doesn't work efficiently, and that's the key here, then when the lymph system backs up, it backs up backwards, like the vacuum cleaner throws the dirt back into the room. The same concept. So why is disease a mystery? It's simple. Doctors focus on the blood, right? They focus on the symptoms, right? They don't look at the cause because they don't know what the cause is, and the cause is the sewage system of our body, the lymph system. And remember, it's all as simple as osmotic flow. But there's not supposed to be a bunch of garbage in our sewage system. So what's happening to us is we're polluting our body. We're putting in things inside of us that don't belong there, and when our intestines have things inside of it that don't belong there, it gets into the blood. Now we have things inside of our blood that don't belong there that get filtered by the kidneys, and now we have things inside of our kidneys that don't belong there, and they damage the kidneys, you see? And the kidneys also filter the lymph fluid, so now the lymph fluid is not getting filtered because the kidneys are damaged, because we have things inside of us that don't belong there. And then we produce our own waste that has to be eliminated, and when there's too many particulates inside our lymph system, when the vacuum cleaner bag is too full, it doesn't suck much in, and eventually it's going to go above a toleration point. That balloon can only expand so far before the excess has to go somewhere. Well, where is the excess waste in the lymph system going to go? The only place it can go where it came from. That's the only avenue it has for anything. And what does it do? It looks for organs that exit the body, like the sinus areas and the lungs, colds and flus, pneumonia. Comes out the skin, psoriasis, eczema. It's dead genetic debris. It's cellular waste. It's all the garbage in our body that backs up and back into the system. So there's a very simple explanation to the disease process. There are two short-term self-limited diseases, meaning that they're very short-term. They run their course in either 2 days or 2 weeks or so, and the purpose is to go back down below the toleration point so the body can handle the toxic load. But it will never be as efficient as it is, because even though it's below the toleration point, it still has a higher concentration of toxins, so waste matter from the cells aren't getting dumped out as thoroughly as they should, which will lead to type 2 diabetes. And I talk about how that works in a seminar I gave. You can click right here and go to that part of the video. And if not, I'll have to, lately my YouTube video markers aren't working, and it's really bummed me out because it doesn't go to the place I put it. And you might have to go to a specific spot, and if that happens in this video, I'll put a link in the description down below. Hopefully it'll work this time, and you can go right straight to that part. But you'll hear me talking about how the cells can't get rid of their own waste matter because there's too much junk in the lymph system. So most of our problems have to do with our lymph system backing up into the body. Why is disease a mystery for our experts? They're intentionally misled and not taught about the lymph system. So that way they don't know the cause. What else can you do if the cause is removed from you? What else can you do but look for something else? And that's what they do. So remember, there are two tests that must be given to pass for someone using logic. And we don't start with the second test, which is too complicated, and most people don't know how to give that test. But we start with the first test because everyone can give that test. And when we give that test to our current medical system, we find that they are guilty of putting the cart before the horse for treating a symptom for a problem that's 100% within their control. But their problem is they lack the wisdom to know the difference between a problem that's within their control and outside their control. And that's the reason why we lack the wisdom. You see, our biggest problem is that we lack the wisdom to know the difference between a problem that is 100% within our control and a problem that is not 100% within our control. And the reason why we lack the wisdom is because our so-called medical experts lack the wisdom. And the reason why our so-called medical experts lack the wisdom is because everything, and I mean everything in our society of any significance, has everything to do with our health, or more specifically, our lack of health. And that's because the status quo cannot remain the status quo if we are healthy. So everything related to health has to be controlled by the status quo so the status quo can stay the status quo. And when I refer to the status quo, I'm not referring to the actual systems themselves. I'm actually referring to a very small group of people who own and control every major sector of human endeavor, especially medicine, because medicine is the ultimate tool of control. And that's all because everything centers around us being sick. All you have to do to control any species in the universe is make them sick, so they'll be out of control and need control, and that's when we create systems to solve problems that only we can solve. And then the system itself becomes its own entity. It wants to preserve itself and will never let us figure out that we're the solution. We're the enemy, but we're also the ones we're waiting for, if we can ever wake up to this simple reality. So almost everything in our society conspires against us, and we have way too many references that support our current belief system and our current way of life. And there's no way we can challenge all those old references. Not a thing I can say to even come close to challenging as many references as the average person has. But there is something you can do. You can prove this to yourself. You can click here and go to a seminar I gave on how to do the first of a 3-step process that I perfected to help each and every one of us play our individual role when it comes to solving all these problems that are 100% within our control. Remember, we lack the wisdom to know the difference between a problem within our control and without our control. I'm telling you right now, my friends, if you got a problem that you've been told is outside your control and you got to take drugs for it and there's surgery for it, you've been misled because they've been misled because they don't study the lymph system. Clean out your lymph system and watch these problems go away. How exciting can that be? Click here, go to my seminar. I'll teach you what it takes to clean out your entire system. We've got to clean out the organs of elimination. We start with the colon. By cleaning out the colon, that will help clean out the blood, help clean up the kidneys, help clean up the lymph system. Remember, all of our problems are coming from our lymph system dumping back into us. So all we got to do is get rid of this humongous cesspool that is inside each and every one of us. And all you have to do is go to this seminar. And when you do, you'll find out that there is a very simple solution to solve most of our problems. And that none of the systems out there that are in charge will ever be able to solve any of our problems. And that's because the solution to every problem that is 100% within our control lies within each and every one of us. And I know that sounds too good to be true, but all you have to do is click here and climb the unexplored mountain. Go where few have gone. Rise above the ideas of the time. Stop gliding with the stream of the crowd and do something you've never done before. Test an idea whose time has come. What does that mean? An idea whose time has come is stronger than all the armies in the world. How can that be? How can anything be stronger than all the armies in the world? Well, there's only one way to defeat all the armies in the world, and that is to stop doing the things that actually create the mentality that creates the army. You see, we got the wrong mentality, because the very first mistake we made destroyed one of our senses. And now we have a dark side to our behavior. The very first mistake we made has been referred to by every culture on this planet. They call it the fall of mankind. We used to have a golden age. Oh my God, what happened? We lost it. What do? We got disconnected. We destroyed the coherent sunlight energy that we're supposed to store in the nucleus of our cells. That allows us to feel one with everyone. So we lost one of our senses. This is the biggest problem we face as a species. We've got the wrong mentality. Things will never change unless we change our mentality. There's only one way to change your mentality. You can't do it by thinking. You got to get reconnected. You got to stop making these mistakes that destroy the nutrient that feeds one of our senses. So the very first mistake we made is the original sin. It is the fall of mankind. And one thing most people don't understand about the fall of mankind is that it's not just an event that happened long ago, but it's an event that's happening every day. We repeat the fall of mankind every day. That's why it is indeed the biggest mistake we ever made, because we haven't stopped making it. And we've been tricked into believing that, oh, it was just our disobedience, something we did long ago, we can't correct it. No, that's not true. Yes, we did something long ago, we made a mistake, but we passed it on down to our children. That's why I have traditions as piece number 4 in a special teaching tool I created. And you can click here and go to a playlist on the ultimate schematic, and you can see where piece number 4 is. And that's important because that's how we start our journey off in life, with false knowledge in the first stage of knowledge, and that allows us to make mistakes in the second stage of knowledge, and that's what ends up in the third stage, where we're now in the dark ages, where we have hundreds of thousands of problems that are 100% within our control. And it's all because of our traditions. You see, our traditions are nothing but the accumulation of all of our wisdom and the accumulation of all of our mistakes. So all the great things about our species can be traced back to all the accumulated wisdom. But then all the negative things that we don't like about ourselves, including the dark side of our behavior, can be traced back to all of our accumulated mistakes. So our traditions are a very big, important piece of the puzzle. I used to have it as my number one source of our number one problem in knowledge, until I finally realized that we're clever enough, we're smart enough as a species to figure out that we're making a mistake and should be able to correct it. Of course, addictions and denial enter into the picture, and I talk about those piece numbers also. But the big problem we have is that there are people who don't want us to know. They suppress this information. They misdirect all of our so-called experts. And that's piece number 3. That's the number one source for false knowledge right now. This is what's getting us in trouble. We made a mistake. It made us sick. Now the sickest of us taking advantage of the fact that we're sick. We're out of control. We need control. We create systems to solve our problems, and those systems guarantee we'll never solve them. So we got to take responsibility. The solution to every problem on this planet lies within you. That's why they call this the hero's journey. And right now, you are at least on the first stage, or in the first stage of heroes, where you have the ears to hear this message. The second stage is to accept the mission. Test an idea as time has come. There's only one thing stronger than all the armies in the world. And the only thing that's an idea as time has come is not only the ultimate solution for this problem, but it's the ultimate solution for all of our problems. What is the ultimate solution? You have to satisfy all of your needs. So people say, oh, it's too simple to have one solution. Well, the solution is to satisfy a bunch of needs. There's more than one factor here. There's no panacea. You just can't eat your way to heaven. But we sure ate our way to hell. Sin came into this planet through our mouths, through eating. That's why the word for fasting literally means to cover your mouth. We're eating the wrong food. We're eating unnatural food. Remember, most of our problems have to do with things inside of us that don't belong there. We're putting in food that doesn't belong inside of us. And I know how hard it is for the average person to say, okay, I should eat more good stuff and more of the bad stuff. The only problem, I don't know which one it is. How do I make some sense out of all of this? Because some people say we shouldn't make this mistake and this mistake. And I'm saying there's 5 mistakes we got to stop making. So my solution is very simple. Let's stop making all 5 mistakes on a temporary basis just to see what we're missing. Click here. Go to a seminar I gave on how to do the first of a 3-step process. There's only one thing we have to do to satisfy all of our needs, but most of us are not willing and able to do that, which is why I added 2 preliminary steps to the only thing we have to do, thereby perfecting a 3-step process. First step, test an idea as time has come. It's the ultimate solution for everything. It's the ultimate solution for weight loss. It's the ultimate solution for starvation, because we don't just focus on what we're putting in. We make sure everything comes out. We support the body in case it's damaged. That's why there's 2 groups of needs, and I talk about all of this in my other videos. And they're all worth watching. So click here and you can go to the Ultimate Solution playlist. Click here, you can go to the Ultimate Schematic playlist. Click here, you can go to the Belief System playlist. And by all means, be sure and click here and do the first of my 3-step process. And when you do, I guarantee you, my friends, you're in for a treat.